It appears as if Joseph was the strong, silent type, much like the man my mother married. But I've always kind of felt sorry for him. Poor old Joseph. Even though he's cast in the role of a prominent supporting actor, I don't think he's ever had a speaking part in any Christmas pageant that I've ever seen. Even in the Gospels according to Matthew and Luke, Joseph played a rather passive role. Gospel writers Matthew and Luke both tell the story of Jesus' birth, only these two accounts are very, very different from one another. In fact, for those of us who follow the liturgical calendar, Matthew's version is only read on the fourth Sunday of Advent, and then only every 3 years, if that. Luke's version, on the other hand, is much more familiar and beloved. Its rendering of Jesus' birth, and over the centuries, it has been told and retold, read and reread. It is familiar to those of us who follow Christ. And as many of you know, the Gospel of Matthew begins with a rather lengthy list of who's who on the patriarchal family tree. It starts an account of the genealogy of Jesus, the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. And the family tree concludes with Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom Jesus was born, who is called the Messiah. Clearly, for Matthew, as for many of us, our ancestral roots are very important to us. They remind us of who and whose we are by recounting the people who came before us. So by tracing the lineage of Jesus through Joseph's line, especially given what we're told about the miraculous birth of Jesus, Matthew actually gives Joseph a much more prominent role than it may appear upon first hearing or reading. First of all, as I just read, after the visit from the angel of the Lord in a dream, Joseph obediently followed the angel's commands, and he resolved to take Mary as his wife. And then after the child is born, Joseph obediently does what the angel in the dream had commanded him to do. He names the child born of Mary Jesus. Some have said this little detail is quite significant because naming the child meant that Joseph was claiming this child as his own. And furthermore, by claiming him as his own, he's taking responsibility to raise and protect this child conceived under extraordinary circumstances. Even more significantly, I think, we're told that all this took place to fulfill what had been spoken by the prophet, by the Lord through the prophet. To me, that would suggest what our faith teaches us is true. What took place was actually all God's doing. With the arrival of the true leading actor in this unfolding drama, Joseph names the child Jesus, Joshua in Hebrew, which means he who saves. Just as the angel told Joseph in his dream, this child born of Mary is the one destined to save his people from their sins. And not just the people on Joseph's family tree, going way, way back to Abraham, but to all people, past, present, and future. This child born of Mary coming into the world as Emmanuel, which means God with us, in flesh and blood, ushered in God's plan to redeem and reconcile the whole world, all of creation. And as for Joseph's part in this unfolding drama, it all started with a dream. Now we have a part in this dream as well. For all of us have been grafted onto the same family tree that bore Jesus the Messiah. By virtue of our baptism, we too are children of Abraham. And in the waters of baptism, we too have been claimed and named by God, the God who makes dreams come true. And so as the season of Advent concludes, may we, like Joseph, be bold to follow the dreams that lead us to righteous living. May we live the dream that ushers in the good news of God's presence among us here and now. And may we share that dream with this broken world that we're living in, where goodness and mercy can be found on earth as in heaven, where God sends angels to speak to ears eager to listen and to act, where God continues to reign supreme, where dreams truly do come to pass. For here is our God, the one who dwells among us whenever and wherever 2 or 3 gather in his name, the one who continues to come to us in bread and wine, the one who abides with us in those places where darkness envelops us, and in the brightness of dawn's morning light when a new day begins. The one who comes to us on the highest of mountains and the lowest of plains or valleys. The one who speaks to our dreams as well in our waking hours. This God, Emmanuel, God with us, comes to reassure us that we are never alone, nor will we ever be forsaken. For our God is indeed with us, and his name is Jesus, the one who was destined to save all people from their sins so that we might have life. Thanks be to God. Amen.